Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Brian, Vic, and Lynette. Hello, everyone.
What it do?
How's it going, people?
Well, it's time to find out if we have the right stuff as we volunteer for the Royal Space Force and head for the stars, flying on the Wings of Honneamise. Royal Space Force, The Wings of Honneamise is a 1987 Japanese animated science fiction film written and directed by Hiroyuki Yamaga. The film was the debut work, apparently, of Studio Gainax, creators of such renowned works as Gunbuster, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gurren Lagann, and just so many more. Royal Space Force did not receive an English-language commercial release until about 1994, when Bandai licensed the film to Manga Entertainment. And you guys probably, anyone from that era probably remembers the infamous manga demo reel, that trailer they would air.
The KMFDM.
Yeah, the sizzle reel. Yeah, that's right. And
I think we talked about that. I thought we talked about when we were talking about
Ninja Scroll.
Ninja Scroll, yeah.
Was it Ninja Scroll we were talking about it? Yeah, it was Ninja Scroll.
Like this, I mean, a few of them, but yeah. So it was definitely part of their sizzle reel. I remember vividly, but I can honestly say that I never watched it.
Let me ask a question. You said Royal Space Force, and what was the Wings of the what?
The subtitle, Wings of Honneamise. Yep. So,
all right, Wings of Holidays. Okay, Wings of
Holidays.
Now, just before we switch tracks, it's like, just want to bring up the fact that the manga sizzle reel, what they showed of this show, it's like, it gave you nothing about the actual show.
Absolutely no context. Yeah, in the sizzle reel, the shots of this were like the last 50 seconds of this freaking movie. Anyway,
I feel a little bit of anger on that one. Tell us about it.
It's more like I don't like false advertising.
Oh, false advertising. Oh,
it's been readily available, gentlemen. The Lynette waits for me to finish my intros. It's been readily available on various formats, DVD, Blu-ray, for years. So it's not particularly challenging to find, as far as I know. I think even The Right Stuff Anime still has it. I think it's on Crunchyroll. So, again, not terribly challenging to find and watch, should you be so inclined. But if you're here to listen to this episode, we'll probably ruin it for you, and then you can decide whether or not you still feel ever so inclined. Let's just hop right into it. All right. It's a hardcore Right Stuff movie. So yeah, Wings of Honneamise. I'm just gonna keep calling it Royal Space Force to make my life easier. It's definitely
no. You gotta say the whole thing, like Super Dimension Fortress Macro. Come on, you got to do it.
Well, yeah, I'll talk about that when I get to that part. But this is, so the title is an interesting part of its lore. The title changed during production, so they, instead of literally changing it all the way, they just mashed both titles into one. The studio got involved is basically the best answer I can give you. So this actually has a pretty robust amount of history available to you, should you be so inclined as to research it. The Wikipedia pages and the whole of the internet has just a wellspring of information about the production on this film, because it is widely regarded as a beautiful movie. I am not going to begrudge it that. It is a beautiful movie. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
It's
for its time? Oh, absolutely.
Came out in 1987.
I will even go ahead and say it's probably some of the best animation I've ever seen.
It's fucking amazing. It truly is. It's beautiful.
Ridiculous.
Everything about the production design is meticulously thought out. The types of bowls and spoons they use, the unique clothing design, the architecture, everything is so well planned and thought out. Like it. Honestly, the only time I see production design like this is like a Luc Besson movie, like The Fifth Element. In The Fifth Element, like you could tell that they meticulously thought out every crazy, insane detail about the way that world works. And that is the feeling I got with this movie. everything about it is like it's relatable but totally foreign at the same time. I'm speaking again exclusively about the production design, the way the houses are, the way the uniforms work, the way the graveyard is sort of a graveyard from Japan, but sort of a graveyard from America, but still like a totally foreign kind of graveyard. Like everything about it is very well thought out.
All right. No, I'm not going to be the first one. No, it will not be me. I need somebody else too. Somebody else needs to be the first because I'm typically the first. It's not going to be me this time.
You are.
Please go ahead.
You are typically the first. You want me? I'll be happy to. The story's stupid.
25%.
I'm sorry. It just
25%.
I get why this film is revered. Like I get what it is about this movie that makes people go, wow, that was impressive. Because yes, there is a lot of very impressive stuff about this movie. But so help me God, I still don't fully understand what the point of the movie was.
You're preaching to the choir. I'm the 50%. I'm waiting on the other percentages to weigh in.
They had the same motivation as the main character. Like he didn't really have any motivation. He was just like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Go into space. Sounds cool.
I got Jack else going on. What's up?
There's nothing really else I need to do. And the girl that I want to bone doesn't want to bone me, so I might as well just go to space.
So are you saying that there is some intellectual value in this film, or are you going with our other panelists and saying that this story's stupid?
It's animation visual porn. Like if I could just mute everything else about it and just watch the whole thing, I think I would enjoy it more because there really was no point to anything. But watching as they built that rocket, watching as they built those pieces, watching as the guy was running away from the Zamboni thing.
The ninja assassin Zamboni. Oh my God, that shit. I was dying.
Oh my gosh, the fact that he was running away from an old lady.
Right. And she was like the Burger King. Like you turned and then there she was again. You're like, whoa, holy shit.
Look, my note was that she went to the Jason School of running.
But the part of it that was beautiful was the fact that when they fell or when they ran into a wall, I felt like I also fell or ran into a wall, you know? I was also peeking around, and the fact that
absolutely
the animation in that era was able to make me go like,
yeah,
you know, it's able to make me peek around a corner, an imaginary corner, was great. As soon as the main character opened his mouth, it's done.
When her little cart came out, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's great. I ducked, and she wasn't even shooting at me.
There's so much. I know that I like to do the animation nerd out thing, but honest to God, with this movie, I would animation nerd out the whole fucking movie.
The whole show.
There's not a single frame of this film that didn't impress me. Some of the way they animated the thrust of the rocket. Like, just fucking everything about this movie is beautiful, except the fucking story.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Takeoff was gorgeous. Oh my gosh. I figured if you put that next to an actual takeoff, it would look exactly the same. So that was what was beautiful.
So here's my problem. It's clear that they're humans.
Yeah, humanish, humanoid, human, bipedal.
They look human.
Right.
Alternate universe humans. Okay, great, going.
Much like in Star Wars, they're human, right? Long time ago, galaxy far, far away, but they're human. That's in the same principle. These are humans.
Damn it! Damn it!
Did I step on your point? I'm sorry.
Completely stepped on it.
I'm so sorry.
Point stomper.
And it's
that is Star Wars. But all right, so look, my problem.
You broke
it. God, I had fucking notes, man.
Sorry, Ryan. It's okay. There's plenty more movie to bitch about. We got time. Go for it.
is my biggest problem with that. It's humans, right? But we're completely supposed to be in a completely different space.
Yeah.
Place, not even in our solar systems, but it felt like so much of our physics and so many of the lessons that we have in terms of propulsion, in terms of firearms,
right,
swords, everything. It felt so Earth, I think when you were looking at space exploration or just the story of it, you're looking to see how a different interpretation would have been like. I honestly felt like this was America going to the moon.
Right. It's very much like the right stuff. Like that's totally the vibe I got from this. It's the right stuff.
The problem is, America going to the moon for us was what, 50s, 60s, right?
1969.
Right. What? 69.
You derailed Brian with just that number.
Just go. Nice. All right.
You broke me. That's what she said.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
And we barely. Anyway. Neither here nor there. Yes, it was 1969.
It felt like there were so many different technology mismatches for on there. They're using flame, but then they have LED. It's clear that there is some technological advances, but it just felt the train looked like it could have been something that came out of Japan.
Right. Yeah. That's the kind of shit I was talking about. Like there's these design aesthetics is like this marriage of Eastern and Western, but then like spinning it and making it completely foreign in its own right. And I loved all that. I was in. I was like, this is great. This is amazing world building. It's so impressive.
It's like it gives you a feel of something familiar but different at the same time because of the way it's used.
Yeah, and I love that about this. Honest to God, the more the story about or the background, like reading the Wikipedia page about the movie was more interesting than the movie. Like reading about how they went through the meticulous like research into like rocket launches and how the animators were like they studied, and all that was more interesting to me than the movie itself. Now I know we're gonna get hate for this, but it really was very pointless. Like just.
And then they ended on a sad note. Like I was like,
they did. Yeah.
Really? Are you trying to? I mean, I'm already trying to figure out how this main character came about. Why? What's the motivation to going into space? Add a little assault to go into that for just I don't know what reason.
I was gonna wait to try and comment on it, but I feel like we may as well just dive in. I already ripped the Band-Aid off of this shit. The rape scene was pointless in a pointless plot to begin with.
Yeah.
It added nothing to the nature of their relationship, which was non-existent basically to begin with. It added nothing to Shin's character Shiro's character except assassination.
Yep.
Murdered any sympathy that I may have had for him up at that point. It murdered any sympathy I had for Rikuni, who, fuck you, Rikuni, it's not your fault. Why are you apologizing to him the next morning? Like, stop with that shit.
Yes.
Like, it's just.
I get. You just set women back like 50 years. Why are you apologizing?
That's it, right there. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I sat there and she went, I am so sorry. I was like,
I smiled at you. I'm like, what the fuck?
Apologizing for, if you're not apologizing for castrating him, you should not be apologizing. She should be apologizing for going, oh, I'm sorry I took your balls last night. Here they are. Right. Have a good day.
Yeah. I bronzed them for you. It was, so that.
I was like.
The whole thing was.
I
couldn't. It didn't. It didn't. Which like a lot of.
It was.
A lot of this didn't. And I've heard people wax nostalgic about this movie, saying that it's amazing, and so I had high expectations going in, and I was not met. Those expectations were not met for me. I was very bored and disappointed. It took me way longer to finish this movie than it should have.
Okay, so
pretty
I
sure
wasn't
this
the only one
movie's
who
running
had to
time was.
rewind because I fell asleep.
Yeah, no, I think this movie's running time is about 6.5 days. Is that full running time of the movie? I think so.
That's what happened to me. It's like I blacked out, and then I went, wait a minute, I missed something, and had to spend the next time rewinding.
And they had a nerve to buffer on me. I was like, you go to hell.
You know. Oh man, I'm sorry, everyone. That's yeah. There are some funny things about it. All right, so they're in the Space Force, which made me chuckle a little because it's very much like here in the United States when Space Force was conceived. Everybody is reacting to them like, "What the fuck do you even do? You fight aliens? Like, what is your job?"
Oh my gosh, it took them 20. They're in Space Force. They've been doing this for years, right? 20 years,
Yeah.
and they're still having to explain what Space Force is. I was like, you know what? That's okay. Right of that.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I get it. It was, I chuckled. I thought that's oddly prophetic.
Like I was my man, like something that was just infuriating with me was he's a national hero,
right?
And she still has him sleep, and she still has him sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Your fame means nothing over here, big boy.
She was all in on the God stuff, which I'm not judging people for being religious. You religious is good on you, whatever. But whatever floats your boat helps you sleep at night. But she was so all in on it, and it was fascinating because it's like you can't be that naive. Like I know a lot of people who are very religious, and they are not that naive. She was woefully naive. She owed the bank money, and she prayed that it would be resolved. And I'm like, sweetie, nobody thinks that's how that works. Like everybody knows you got to pay your bills. Like that's just how that works. And she tried to pray that away, and I'm like, no. And even he bitched at her for that. You prayed? And I was like, yeah, apparently that's what she did. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Maybe you should rape her. Oh wait. So it's just, it was a whole thing. Like each one of these characters, I don't think any of them grow. Shiro finds religion. I guess that's about the only growth you get in this movie.
And well, look, first thing about Shiro, the first thing he admits to is I'm an idiot.
Yes.
That's the first thing he admits to. I was like, oh wow, they really just said it. They just put it out there.
Did you see everyone else in the Space Force?
Right.
Yeah.
Did y'all listen to it dubbed or subbed?
That's a good question.
Subbed.
I know that. I know Vic watched it subbed. What'd you say, Lynette?
Subbed.
I watched. All right, so I watched it dubbed because I knew you had watched it subbed. So I watched it dubbed with the Japanese subtitles on, so I could sort of see the differences between the scripts. But I stopped caring about the script changes because I didn't care about a single one of the characters. So pretty early on, I just stopped doing it. But I did like that our boy Isamu Dyson, Mr. Bryan Cranston, was in it as Mati, the best friend. He played Mati. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. I dig it.
So
I like the best friend. I really do, because he left him behind. Like when the old lady started shooting him, he was like, stop following me. She's trying to kill you. Go away. Like, you just summed up the entire movie. I love you, Mr. Man.
Best friend ever.
Ryan, what was your point about the dub?
So the first thing you come into is the funeral.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And they're talking about how the guy died.
Yes, he got electrocuted by his own urine.
Yeah,
Fucking terrible.
Look, so
of all the ways to go.
So look, this is like minute two, right? And you see this, and he says the urine bag ruptured and he was electrocuted. I stopped it. I rewound it. I was like, that could not have been what I heard. And then played it again.
And that was exactly what you heard.
And then 5 seconds later, they're explaining to somebody who's in Space Force, who's supposed to be an astronaut, what a spacesuit is.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, did you see the entire crew? They were not the
It was
brightest
like
of all the bunches.
no, you know what the crew was? The crew was from Greece, the Grease Monkeys in Greece.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Grease Lightning. Yeah,
That's it.
those guys.
That's them. Yeah. It was totally them. Yeah. What can I tell you?
They didn't.
All right.
They didn't do anything to make Shiro look like any of our other protagonists that we have or seen. He felt so. I get plain normal. He could have been any other Joe. You know what I mean? I do
Sure.
appreciate that. It's not
yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you're looking at Jubei or Rick Hunter or no, that's not his name. That's his Robotech name. I don't want to say that name.
You're okay. It's all right. He's so Brian. I agree with you in that he is a very plain Jane vanilla character. Like there's nothing unique about the character. That could have been played to a strength. He could have played that to a, he found his legs. He's coming into his own as a member of the Space Force. He's a soldier, whatever. It could have given him a redemption arc, or not a redemption arc, but a growth arc that led him to being something. But ultimately, they really just didn't. I mean,
I didn't understand why did they choose him to be the pilot?
He
volunteered.
He volunteered.
The old
he
guy
asked if other people would volunteer.
Yeah, it was totally like in Airbats. You remember in Airbats when the pink-haired girl wanted to be a pilot? It was like, hello, I'm here, hello. And everybody's like, anyone? Nobody wants to do this. Like, that was basically what happened. Hiro stood up. He was like, I'll do it. And then the commander's like, no one? Anyone? Anybody else? No one? What's your name again? Well, fine.
He volunteered while being reluctantly chosen.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's just telling in and of itself. There are things about it I liked besides the animation quality. There were aspects of it that I did find interesting. I did like how they showed media circus around spaceflight. They showed the media circus that happens to these astronauts and these people. And it happened to a more compelling character. It might have been a more interesting thread to follow. But they, him being thrust into sponsorships and having to speak for the entire, being held accountable for the entire department. The media came down on him hard, and a couple of things like, you could be building bridges with this money kind of shit. And at no point the media sucks for that. He's just a fucking soldier. He doesn't he doesn't make financial decisions. He doesn't control the budget of the defense. He just flies the fucking rocket. Leave him alone. And it didn't. They kept coming down on it, just like they do that. The soldiers or anybody who's been, saying something like that, they interview them and they're coming down on them like they make the call. And he's just like, you don't get it. These are soldiers. They're following orders, not making policy. That's not Shiro's job. Shiro's job is to show up, get punished, and fly the fucking rocket. So those kinds of things I liked because there was a relatable realism to that. And again, had it happened to a more compelling character, I might have liked it more. It wasn't enough to redeem the movie. It was just one of those things that when it happened, I was like, well, that tracks. That's exactly how that would have worked.
On par. That's for America.
Yeah.
Just for Earth. Just for Earth. I mean,
for Earth, yeah, in general, just for Earth.
I love the political sabotage too.
Yeah, all that. And it's not like Shiro wasn't wrong, right? At one point, I mean, Shiro was wrong about a lot of things, but at one point he's at his drafting table and he's helping him design a thing, and he even says it. He's like, well, they're not wrong. This money would go better to building bridges. At least bridges don't kill people. And it was like, I don't disagree with you, but you're also not at fault. What, It's if that would have been the whole movie, if the whole movie would have been the commentary about the military-industrial complex and how, we're allocating money to do shit like send people to the moon, and people don't understand the justification for it, even though we rationally have a lot of justification for sending people into space. I could have gotten behind that. That's not what this movie was about. That was a subplot in this movie.
I think that's the second time we've heard somebody apologize for something that's not their fault. That might have been the theme of the movie.
There you go. Theme of the movie is just apologize.
Got me. Oh, man. I loved the bar fight. The bar fight was great. When they go to the Air Force and then the Air Force guy takes him up, does that thing that every Air Force pilot I've ever known does. They get a muggle in their jet and they just fucking barrel roll, do everything they can to make the guy sick. What every Air Force pilot does. And everyone that I've ever met. Yeah. 100%. It's like their whole gig. It's like, oh, you've never flown before? Oh, come on in. I got you. Barrel roll, dive. Just whatever they can to get you sick. And then they get into the fucking bar. It's clearly an Air Force bar. And I love the dude. I don't know his name. He kept grabbing shit before Mati would grab it because he knew Mati was going to smash it against the guy. He's just like, no, we don't need that. No, I'm going to move that. And then ultimately, he's the one that starts the fight.
He's the one that drops the first hit.
Ultimately, he's the one that does it. That was fucking awesome. I loved that bit. It was so good.
How many times? So we all agreed that this was all of our first time watching it.
No, my third.
Oh, Vic's seen it. Look at you, Vic.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now. Vic is my hero.
What is that, Brian?
Yeah, you've watched it 3 times.
Seen it.
I own it.
Seen it 3 times.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. He's my hero, and more importantly, I tried to start it again. So
Did you? You were gonna do both audio.
Fuck that, no. I was just wanted to be able to have. I got so caught up in the artwork. I know I was missing something. Like I didn't know. I missed how they even got to there.
You weren't missing anything.
Dude, I couldn't. I couldn't do it again. I was like, I'm not. You ever? I realized that we have an obligation to our longtime listeners in terms of how much how much time we devote to this.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Fine. There's a simple secret of mine. I wait about 10 years before I watch it again.
There you go. It takes a while.
I couldn't bring myself to do it. I tried, and then I got hit with the urine bag again. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm done." And
well, so like for me, it happens a lot where I'll revisit an anime or a movie even that I may or may not have enjoyed the first time, just to see if my tastes have changed over the years, and maybe so I'll give it another shot, and I may very well come back to this again at some point, see if maybe it just hits a little differently for me later. But it's not going to be for a little while because it just. I couldn't get behind anybody really in this except for maybe Mati. Mati was probably my hero in the whole movie.
Only person I was really impressed how I underestimated the strength of the assassin.
Yeah.
When he grabbed him and reached to, I was like, oh shit, that little old lady is strong. And then come to find out the guy, I was like, okay. I
know, but still, it was impressive.
It was impressive.
That scene. So the thing about that scene is, and this is the thing that frustrates me about this movie. That scene had an opportunity for a payoff. Shiro spends half this movie talking about how how soldiers kill people and how he doesn't kill people and he's just in Space Force, and then he's thrust into this situation where he's forced to take a life, and he even hesitates to do it. He's like, oh, no, I mean, I'm gonna maim you, and he like stabs the dude in the leg. And still ultimately has to take this guy's life. And they don't give you a payoff for that. They don't give you the emotional payoff of him having to have done that thing that he was criticizing other soldiers for doing. And trying to come to terms.
Happened, that was like, that's all they mentioned of it.
Yes.
That's it. It was never brought up again. I was really upset about that because I was like, oh, fuck, like, this is an opportunity. And they totally missed that opportunity to make that matter, to make that moment matter more than it did. It really was a throwaway. Like a lot of scenes in this. There's just this throwaway
They
moments.
made him look like a sociopath because he was just like, I just stabbed this dude in his throat, and now I'm just going to go and have a piece of bread and just wait for this rocket to take off. And I was like, wait a minute. You're supposed to be having a crisis right now.
Right, yeah. Like, you should have,
Actually,
you should be dealing with it.
If you ask my opinion about it, it felt like instead of stabbing, we made the stop not to kill him. It's almost like he was apologizing for the guy attacking him.
Right, it's gonna do everything you can to make this the running theme. I respect that.
I'm going to do everything I can.
It was one of those things. Again, a fleeting moment that could have been made something bigger. I don't know. I also enjoyed. I loved the lore, like, of her religion, of Rikuni's religion. Like, they sort of roped in the story of Prometheus stealing fire from the gods into, like, part of their lore. This still again, another point that could have been mixed into this with, the advancement of science and the outcome of using the technology that wasn't meant for them. It just, again, missed opportunity.
I don't think it's a missed opportunity. If you ask me,
Go ahead. Yes, Brian.
They were apologizing for using all the technology that was given to them from the gods.
Well, they did. They have 3 opportunities to bring that back in. One was the story that she's telling about the fire. The second was when they were looking at the mural.
Yeah.
Like, that piece of art was beautiful.
Yeah.
The archer hovering above war, essentially, was what it looked like. That was a perfect opportunity to kind of reflect back on how progression, because I believe it was the general or somebody who asked him, what does he see when he looks at this?
Yes.
And this is when I lost, the second time, I lost all faith in the
I love the way she rolls her eyes. The way you roll your eyes.
This was the second time I lost, like, all faith in this main character when he was like, she has a great butt. I was like, your boss just, like, opened the door, gave you the words to say, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, I just like her butt. Like, yeah.
Did you know? Bet you guys didn't know this, but there's actually a deleted scene, and I took the time to research it.
I'm very proud of you. Go on.
All right, so the mural is clearly in their time. It's the mural is clearly is old, right?
Yeah, right.
And in the deleted scene, they actually got the artist, and he apologized for making the mural.
Fucking assholes.
Here, I thought Brian was actually going somewhere with it. Who got us all?
So good. I love you. Wonderful. I'll
give it to you this time, Brian.
I even appreciate Shiro finding religion in this, if that would have mattered. Because at the end, he gives this really meaningful speech, and it sucks because it's coming from a character I just don't care about. And the English dub version of the speech is really good. I wrote a bit of it down. It talks about that we found the untouched realm of God. Soon the next man will follow to touch it, and another, and in all the rush we may again destroy it. And maybe our killing from the madness of being confined, and that there's no more reason to kill because we don't have any more borders now. It's the kind of thing that you hear from astronauts who say that have been up there, and they talk about how it changes your view of the world to see a world without borders, right? And to see this one small blue marble out there, and realizing how alone we are, and all this, to how we should be working together, and all this. Astronauts all kind of talk about it, and it was really nice. It was really impressive. It was really well written for the English dub, and delivered well. I loved that, and it would have just been so much better if it would have been a character that had earned the merit of it. Like the whole journey of him finding religion because he wanted to tap that ass was just
Kind of a joke.
not great. And then to get up there and
But that's
to
probably, I can honestly say, I too know some people who have
religion to tap that ass.
pontificated,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's this. You know what this movie it needs. And I know I'm stumbling a lot, so I'm trying to find the right way to describe it. Movie needs an edit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it needs
not a visual one.
No,
the words.
It needs an edit. Maybe just a little visual. Cut some of it. Just I feel like if it were scripted differently or handled, the character developments were handled differently, that maybe it would. I don't know. It just I felt I was left wanting. I wanted more from this. I wanted to care about it
more.
I wanted to care more about it than its pedigree. Like its pedigree, it's very well known and revered. And having never had seen it, to get a chance to finally watch it, I was excited for that. And then to land on it and have it be something that really just left me wanting. Like, wait a minute, you have all of this amazing talent working for you, and knowing Unbuster, Evangelion, just an amazing wellspring of talent working for you. And the best you could come up with was a rapey drunk idiot who got sent into space. That was your whole story. That bugged me. And again, I don't feel like there was any growth to Shiro. He started the film as a pacifist. He didn't want to kill people. He ended the film telling people, don't kill people. So it's not like he had this grand evolution. The only difference is he threw God's name at the beginning of the sentence versus back when he started. And the same holds true even for Rikuni, who starts the film handing out pamphlets in a red light district, fucking ends the movie doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's supposed to speak to the human condition or any of that shit. I don't know, because they don't really guide you to that point. They just leave you here. And I think that's the thing about this that bugs me the most, is that it's there's so much potential. They could have given us characters that were great. And they really kind of didn't. Not to me, anyway.
Honestly, we set ourselves up for this one. If you really, the goal is flight, or the goal is space exploration, right?
Yep. And
let's compare this to Homeboy from The Wind Rises.
I was just thinking that, B. Yeah, like you approach it with. Let's approach it with that same mentality. Go on.
His was about. I mean, there was so much driving him for why he wanted to make his claim. Hell, and we even address it. Certain people they have that thought process, especially when they're taking on something amazing like going to space, but just climbing Everest or just discovering. There's a gravitas that a person has, and you don't just stumble upon it, or maybe you do. And there are people. I mistakenly made dynamite.
Right. Whoops.
But even once you realize what you've done, I never saw him commit. Like, I never saw the click in him.
Yeah. I mean,
where he goes from immature to actually caring about it. I don't know.
One part where he's sitting in the cockpit and they're going to cancel the launch, and that's the only part of the movie where he asserts himself in a way. He's like, "No, I'm fucking doing this, and you're doing it with me, or I'm doing it by myself." And that was the only point in the movie where he did assert himself.
It didn't. He didn't earn it. It wasn't earned.
I was just gonna say, it wasn't earned. It wasn't like in Wind Rises, where he had absolutely dedicated himself to the cause, the engineering, the creating of this amazing moment forward for him, and committing to it. So for him it pays off, but for Shiro it doesn't. It comes out of nowhere. At least for me. And again, tell me if I'm wrong, guys. I know I ripped the Band-Aid off and I came down hard on this right out the start, but I think it's just because I was so disappointed at the potential.
So
all right.
I ended up feeling really kind of depressed at the end of this. Not because of the story, because there really wasn't one. But the thing that I walked away with...
35%.
The thing that I walked away with was, how could I spend 2 hours watching a visually stunning thing and then go, I feel like I just watched a piece of shit. But
oh my
really
God.
But I really did.
Oh my gosh.
And I swore. I just swore. I said a swear. But that was what depressed me, was because I was watching something that I couldn't take my eyes off of it because of how beautiful the art flow and everything else like that. But at the end of the movie, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I watched a piece of shit. But I really didn't. I just really, so I felt really bad because that was how I felt.
Yes, all right, stop. Are we in final notes yet? Because you guys are stealing it, and I don't appreciate it.
You know what, Brian? I'll acquiesce. Let's go ahead. We can start with our final thoughts.
I had
if
one
you
more
want.
point.
And bring it. Let's go.
What are your point?
I turn the floor to you, sir.
I thought it was a visually stunning piece of shit.
Lynette peeked at your homework.
No, the one thing that I will say, and I don't know if anybody noticed, but I actually thought it was pretty cool that we got to see an inside peek of how the government went, yeah, we really invested money in you, and it was kind of a mistake, but we don't really know how to stop it, so we're going to let you do it, but we're going to have you start a war.
Yeah, we're going to set you up to fail.
Because then that's how we can make our money back. So you, Mr. General, keep doing it. We're going to tell your enemies where you are. You all are going to die, and then we're going to make money. And I was like, that they're going, and the rest of the government was like, that's a good idea. It's a
all
good
right,
idea.
You're right. That was another subplot that they could have played out more. But again, they didn't. All right, so I'm going to ask a question that, honestly, at this point, I don't think it really matters. But how did you guys interpret that ending montage? Right, there was this like ending montage that traverses space and time, and it's like taking you back to human inception. I don't know, but how did that affect you in any way? Do you have an interpretation for its intention? Anyone? Or was it just wasted space for you? That's an acceptable answer too. I would like to point out for our listeners at home, Brian has lifted his hand to the monitor and has lifted one finger, just one. I won't tell you which one because I trust all of you to know which one that was. Brian,
put that in the show notes.
Brian,
looks like Brian has a little residual dinner on that finger, though.
So Brian, that was a deep thought. I really appreciate it. Does anyone have any idea what the fuck that ending montage was supposed to
I refuse to be hostage by it. I refuse to be hostage by it. Yeah.
I'll take a stab.
And let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Please.
They tried to, I think they were trying to tell you what they were trying to stay in the story by that little montage. It's like every time we touch something, we try to destroy it. You know, we took fire, we did this and destroy each other. We did this, we destroy each other. We expand, we destroy each other. We industrialize, we destroy each other. Now we're in space, so now we're not only going to destroy ourselves, but we're going to destroy God. And that's why I said I was kind of depressed with that ending. I was like, really?
I get it.
It's beautiful, but you guys are assholes.
No, that's good. That's a good way to look at it.
Or
No, Brian, it wasn't an apology.
All right.
No,
It was
Brian,
not.
give him a sec. Let him work through it. He's got this.
maybe they're trying to say that to achieve those things, we have to destroy the things that typically hold us back, right? And in
Sorry,
their
like,
interpretation,
make an omelet, you got to break eggs, kind of thing.
right? In their interpretation, the final thing that will hold us back from exploring is religion. Once you start talking about exploring space, that's God's territory up there.
And
You know, you have to kill the mythos of whatever God that you're worshiping. When you say the heaven and the earth and the heavens, well, you're going to be up there in the heavens. So are you prepared for that magnitude? So
okay,
now again,
I like that too.
I would say that.
You weren't gonna let yourself get hung up on it, but you definitely have a good theory. I like
Yeah.
You know what? And I instantly apologize for making that theory.
it. It was one of those things where when it started, I was like, oh, are they gonna do like this celebration of human ingenuity and because they made it space kind of thing, and then more kept rolling, and the montage kept moving. I'm like, this is not a celebration of human ingenuity. What am I watching? And I kept thinking they were trying to drive home little moments that matter kind of thing. Because they had a whole moment between Mati and Shiro where they were right before Ninja Assassin Lady showed up. They were trying to like talk about whether or not things matter, like it even matters to exist or whatever. And Mati had an interesting outlook on it. And I thought maybe that's what they were going for, and it didn't feel like that to me. I was really left wanting. I was very lost with that montage, and I don't feel like it really landed for me. And it could just be that by that point I was in the wrong mental state to accept whatever message it was trying to give me.
Okay, look, okay, all right. So I have a note. I said the existential questions are what plagued me about this one. You know, it's like you shouldn't. I think ultimately this is where we have a problem when it comes to animated characters, right? Ghost Rider, Nicolas Cage, right?
Sure.
On paper, Nicolas Cage should have been the perfect Ghost Rider. He should have been the perfect Johnny Blaze. Right. And we're saying that was by far the worst version of Nick Cage we could have seen. Right? That's not something that's really should be something that you should experience in an animated feature, because you have the ability to animate them the way you want them, you know?
Right.
So if you're going for aloof, you can easily animate them as an idiot, right?
Right.
Why didn't y'all animate him or write him to be better? And
Sure.
I continue to have a hard time of saying, just because this is what we put out there, you need to accept this. And I've had this issue before when we're coming back to our target animes. It's just because they said it out there, I don't want to accept it just because you put it out there or you say it. I hold people accountable now. You know, I have that. I think huge problem with that.
I think that's just an evolution of us too as people. You know, as we get older, it's that old like, I ain't got time for that shit. Like, give me something with some meat on it. Don't waste my time just because it's pretty. And that's this kind of felt like that, really. Before we roll out on this, I do have one interesting mindless musing for you.
I actually have one more added art ski, if you will.
Please.
The plane in the first montage,
the little Navy montage thing they had going on at the beginning.
Yeah, but that plane was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
I wrote it's like it's alien Navy porn, I think was the note I wrote. It was great.
All right. Yeah, art ski. Is that a thing?
The engine design or the mechanical design was great. Some of the fighter jets of this thing were cool.
The wing design on it was just ridiculous.
So cool. It's just, again, everything about this visually, every detail thought out.
But even in that wing design is what took me out of it, because it felt like it had the wing design of something from the Korean War, in terms of how you had the plane and they had to swoop down, but they put
the inverted seagull style. Yeah.
Right. But they put that same design on a jet. I was like, you know what, that's great, but it felt so American, it felt, I was like, damn. And that's when it first snapped me out. I was like, damn, are we on a different planet, or are we really just on alternate Earth? I don't know.
Right. No, I hear you. So I do have one interesting mindless musing. The director of this film, Hiroyuki Yamaga, he worked on Super Dimension Fortress Macross. He wasn't part of the engineering team or anything like that, but he was a director of one of the episodes. It was the Miss Macross episode 9. I don't know. Apparently he chose to be that. And he wanted to do an episode that wasn't like heavy science fiction, so that's the episode he chose to do. Anyway, it was kind of just an interesting note. He worked on that, as we usually end up tying something, because back in the 80s, fucking everybody worked on Super Dimension Fortress Macross in some capacity. And it's just sort of become our brand.
Too, right?
This become our brand to call it out. What?
Didn't you do some voiceover work on it?
Absolutely, yeah. I worked on it too. It was great. Good times.
What is interesting, though, he's also apparently got to start with the Daikon 3 and Daikon 4.
Yeah. So it's the other note I had. Like, he worked on those infamous Daikon sequences that internet loves, but nobody seems to have a high-resolution version of.
And those videos are a copyright infringement in the waiting.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. It was just an interesting note that I had, because I always have to do that to ourselves. Yeah, okay. I guess I'm ready to wrap, guys. You guys ready to wrap on this one? All right. Vic, you've been awfully silent today, so I'm going to make you go first.
He's going to say he's going to love it. He's going to say he's going to love it.
Seen this
and I'm going to
3 times.
I'm going to lose my shit.
Brian, I hope he does love it, because he's been again uncharacteristically silent. But I would love an alternate take. Go ahead.
This is Ponyo. Everyone deserves one.
I was gonna milk it to the very, very possible end, but I'll give Brian his payoff right now. I agree with everyone else on the movie.
100%.
Okay, but I do have buts. Okay.
Yes.
First of all, again, this is my 3rd or 4th time. Every time I've watched it, my opinion slightly changed. And I don't know if it's, between just age or, my opinions changed throughout the years. But, I'm not an expert in, mid-'80s Japanese cinema outside of, things like, Super Dimensional Fortress Macross and a couple of other movies that we've discussed. But, I'm not sure if, that could have been par for the course for, movies at that time, I mean, like everyone else said, the animation is absolutely stunning. I can just leave this running in a background loop, minus that one little questionable scene that was not needed. But I could just leave it running in the background 24/7, and it, I'd stop every few minutes to take a glance over, because the movie is visually stunning. The story, it's like you got a character that you just don't care for. But at the same time, again, this movie is approaching 40 years. It's up there in age. And, movies from, at least American movies, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's like a lot of them don't age well. Where a lot of them, they can have their sequences that are great and, visually stunning and everything. And the story is just like, meh. And I feel like this falls into that same category where visually, you can't flaw it visually at all. You can't flaw the animators at all. You can't flaw anyone. The only one you can flaw is the writer, which just happened to be the same guy that directed it. And for Gainax, this was the movie that was like, hey, look, we can animate like this, and that's what got people talking. I feel like if it had the gunbuster treatment, so they could flesh out a slightly better story across a couple of episodes instead of 1 2-hour movie, I think it could have been significantly better. But as it is, I mean, if you just want something visually stunning to run in the background, one of those movies that you just play in the background and not actually watch, but just enjoy here and there, this movie is great. Now, if you're gonna watch it for the story, I can't agree to watch it for the story.
Thank you. All right. Appreciate that.
Brian got his win finally.
Brian did. We're Hundy on this one. Well, I mean, we've been Hundy on a lot of way worse anime than this. Oh, I mean, to be fair.
I know, but
to be fair,
it's usually something that has been, visually beautiful. It's like we haven't been.
Yeah, true. There's usually we find something worth redeeming about something with this much work put into it, and it really was a lot of work.
And unfortunately, the only redeeming factor is just the animation quality.
Look.
Yeah,
I think why is it happening?
Brian, do you want to go, Brian? Is that?
Oh no. Before I go, I think what winds up happening is whenever it becomes one of, like Vic says, it's a guilty pleasure. I mean, he recognizes it sucks. He just says, I still love it.
And okay, and I'll give you that. If there's a movie that just genuinely sucks, but I still watch it, like Jean-Claude Van Damme's Street Fighter, that's a shitty movie. It's terrible in every way, but I'll still watch it because I still chuckle at it. Like, it's so bad that I enjoy myself. There's several anime that are like that.
You know what? One movie I would refuse to do that to is Last Airbender. Oh, he hell at that movie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, that's just objectively a bad film. I was gonna let Lynette go next. Lynette, knowing that this was your first time with Wings of Honneamise, and that was just for you, Brian. And
100%. I'm dude. Are we at 110 right now? I don't know. What's that?
Let me know your thoughts on it. How did it strike you?
I wish I could invent time travel and then smack the writer upside the head and tell him to watch the animation again and do it right.
Oh, that's
really
lovely.
wish that, I really wish that, how they always say, if my past self hasn't gone back, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I think this writer's past self would have gone back and smacked him because everything writing-wise was done wrong. It was like they had so many chances to get us to invest in something, right? Even if, and we're gonna die. Because I feel like he reminded me of a character from a book that I will not really mention, but everybody knows about it because they're sparkly. The main character was written to be vanilla so that you can put yourself in that person's shoes, right?
See yourself through that character, right?
Yeah. So I felt like they had an opportunity to make this vanilla character that nobody really gives a shit about, have us put ourselves in his shoes. But every time they did it, they missed that opportunity. It's like every time you're like, I could be invested, and then you're like, nope, he's just a dick. And then you're like, I could be invested. No, he's just an idiot. And then by the end of it, you're just like, I love how it looked. I love the art. I love the animation. Yeah. I love the opening sequence. Oh my gosh. And they did like the rough sketch opening sequence. I was like, this is going to be a great, right? I'm sitting there going, cool. This is going to be a great movie. And then by the end of it, I was like, no, I've watched a piece of shit.
Now, if you want to add insult to injury on that, he also wrote Gunbuster. Well, he was one of the writers on Gunbuster.
See, he did slap himself. He watched this in theater and went, oh my gosh, I made a visually stunning piece of shit, and went back and did Gunbusters and made it better.
I'm gonna write something with a lot more substance. That is, Vic, I didn't even get that far into the dude's filmography. That's amazing that he was one of the writers. I can't believe
it's not a very large filmography.
No, it isn't. I just didn't care.
He blew his wad. He did the worst I'm gonna do. I'm gonna knock it out of the park. What more do I have?
Yeah, he and
Miyazaki are not nowhere near.
He missed on the first swing, but on the second swing, he knocked that shit in orbit.
And he said, "I'm done."
I'm done. Yeah.
No, he also did a Gundam series. He's done a bit.
No, stop. Just fucking
mediocre.
stop. Fucking stop. Because he did a Gundam series. Their whole thing is talking about the greater purpose of fucking war, or the pointlessness of it, or the effects of war. He had an opportunity to do that. He chose not to.
You learned his lesson.
Jesus, yeah, Lynette's right. He went back and slapped himself.
Oh my
Time
gosh.
travel.
I think we saw Daddy Rick just now. We saw Daddy Rick.
Ryan, go.
Thanks for the opinion, Brian Rick.
The Hubble telescope. All right.
Yeah.
Its main purpose is to stare out into the cosmos and help us answer questions. Right?
Yep.
Neil deGrasse Tyson decided to prank it. He decided to go ahead and take a shit and hold it in front of the telescope. That's this movie.
Jesus Christ.
How did he get up there?
He had to help. Because honestly speaking, we never really talked about.
Dr. deGrasse Tyson is a longtime listener, fan of the show.
Long
we
time.
always appreciate hearing from him. I'd like to apologize on behalf of Brian. He knows that you didn't take a physical shit on the Hubble telescope. But it would have been really funny. I'm just saying. Nevertheless.
No, but seriously, the thing I love about The Wind Rises is that there were problems that needed to be solved. And before things could progress, you had to solve those problems.
Yeah.
None of that transpired here.
Yeah.
Only thing you saw was time and, okay, we're at this progress of it and we're at this stage, It's time for us to leave. Oh my gosh, they're coming to attack. Let's hurry up and get up there. And even that draw, it just shows you how precious our time is. You know, we were waiting for them to hurry up and say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Y'all could have did this a little bit quicker, you know, because ultimately the whole fight, the whole combat, it did not matter. You know, they do stuff and then it doesn't matter. They do stuff, it doesn't matter. They do stuff, they apologize. That's the whole premise of this. It either doesn't matter or you're going to apologize for it. But never are you going to actually celebrate the success of what you actually did. We're just going to leave you with more apology, which is what that whole monologue was. It was like, we made it up here and we're apologizing for being up here because we know we're about to do some stupid shit.
Right. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I agree with all of you. Your points across the board.
I would like to immediately apologize for my point.
Vic, I wish I would have watched this back when we were younger. Just to see what younger me might have thought of it. I don't know. I might have hated it more. I don't know. It really just depends. But it would have been an interesting... this is a film that I regret not having seen in my youth because I really feel like this is the kind of film that comparing it over time is probably something worth doing. This is just so much potential that was wasted. Ryan, I really like what you said, how you brought Wind Rises into it and how you talked about, you know, the earning of the moments, right? And how they spent time really reflecting and appreciating engineering of it and the thought process. And all of that is something I wish they would have spent more time on, because some of that was really the most impressive things about this movie, was how they determined that these people in this world with their state of technology would have surmounted these odds, would have come up with solutions for these things. And if that was the movie, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But it wasn't that movie. We were forced to follow Shiro. That wasn't a smart choice, particularly. Ryan, you look like you have something you wanted to add.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about the movie about the mathematicians that worked for NASA.
Oh, the Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah, Hidden Figures, right.
Right.
I can love them. So good.
You see, in terms of just seeing them work out the problem of just the math of it, right?
Right.
And once they finally get to it, even then, she has the climax of the movie is that she has to come back and basically do real time,
do that shit on the fly,
right, to make sure it works. And even after that, they still have to run and get it over to make sure that everything's right.
Yeah,
that's the payoff.
Yeah,
and it just shows you that not only does it is a battle, when we're dealing with engineering, when we're dealing with just the journey from design to execution, it's a battle each step of the way.
Right.
And they focus on completely the wrong shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my final thought, B, is that there are significantly better films about the struggle to reach the stars. There are significantly better films about politicalization of space programs and war. There are significantly better films about protagonists who don't know a damn thing about space, learning to go to space and, having to become adults and, man up and do the thing. There are significantly better stories about foreign worlds that are yet familiar.
And
there are
humans.
They have humans. There are significantly better versions of everything that this film tried to do,
but not many look that good.
Right.
That's it. This will stand the test of time as one of the most beautiful animated films ever made, guaranteed, hands down. I think that if anybody has a best looking anime list and this isn't on it, that they haven't done their due diligence and they just don't even look at their list.
Maybe they didn't have time to watch it. That'd be too hard on them.
They may not have had 73 days to watch a movie. So, ultimately, my recommendation is, no, guys, maybe skip it. Like, there are things to do with your time. If you want to be visually stunned, there's a lot of visually stunning stuff out there that
doesn't lie to you.
To it. It has more meat to it, was what I was going to say, but let's go with doesn't lie to you. And are less rapey. That's it for me, guys. Anybody else have anything they want to add? All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
good.
In that case, that's going to be our show for today, folks. So until next time, keep calm, and you know what? I'm sorry.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections, or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.